Good afternoon, my name is Gopal and I'll be giving you an introduction into ArcGIS Notebooks. What is ArcGIS Notebooks? ArcGIS Notebook is an integrated Jupyter Notebook experience optimized for spatial analysis, meaning that we've made it easy for you to access your ArcGIS spatial algorithm data that you have within your organization or the data that lives within your community, whether that's from the ArcGIS Online or the Living Atlas. You can reduce time spent managing dependencies when you're working with ArcGIS Notebooks because within the notebook experience, all of the dependencies are managed by what's called a notebook runtime. You can increase your cross-team collaborations because your notebooks are stored as items in the portal. And because you're using notebook runtime, it doesn't mean you have to worry about having the right versions, the right libraries, or the right environments to open up someone else's notebooks. And because it's built on Jupyter, you can take advantage of all the flexibilities and interactivity that the Jupyter provides. So if you want to include an image, a video, a GIF, or an ArcGIS application, like a dashboard or a story map, you can do all of that. The three main areas we see notebook being used today is WebGIS administration. That's for automating the users, content manager, and content management and analysis. For those of you who have used ArcGIS API for Python, would have known that it's a very powerful and easy to use Pythonic libraries to perform any of your GIS needs, but not exclusively. It enables the users to leverage the ecosystem for automating their workflows and performing repetitive tasks using scripts. It also enables academics, data scientists, GIS analysts, and visualization enthusiasts to share their geo-enriched programs with others. We also have ArcPy. ArcPy is a Python side package that provides a useful and productive way to perform geographic data analysis, data conversion, data management, and map automation with Python. It is one of the more important tools that you may use while working in the GIS ecosphere. And it also contains all of the analytics engine like geoprocessing services, web GIS analysis, geoanalytics, and raster analytics. Do take note of those indicated in the asterisks that are not included in the GIS notebook, but rather they are from within your organization. And also let's move to the right when Esri brings in the community. These are what makes GIS interesting. Open source. There are tons of libraries out there such as high-level data manipulation tools like Pandas, using artificial intelligence library like TensorFlow, and the popular data visualization library Seaborn. Most importantly, Jupyter Notebooks. Jupyter Notebooks allows you to create and share documents that contains live code where you can code line by line or by section without waiting to the end to find out that there's a bug in your code. So what is ArcGIS Notebooks? ArcGIS Notebooks is the convergence of all the powerful GIS tools from Esri and the open source library from the community. ArcGIS Notebooks provides users with the Jupyter Notebook environment, hosted in your ArcGIS Enterprise portal and powered by the new ArcGIS Notebook server, to give you a complete Python workstation for spatial analysis, data science, deep learning, and content management. So, how is ArcGIS Notebooks different from traditional notebooks? Firstly, Notebooks is built within ArcGIS rather than just being an extension of Jupyter. You don't have to use it in the classical way where you have to go to the terminal and so on. To launch your notebook, all you need to do is just go to your portal. It's right there. Secondly, it also leverages on the integrated UI, which automatically allows you to insert Python snippets and to quickly access a gallery of samples. This can be really useful when others have already done something similar and you don't have to redo, wasting your time. And there are times you may not know what some of the tools or processing works. You can easily get the samples and reuse them. Thirdly, we also use notebooks as an item. Even if you don't have ArcGIS notebooks, you can upload notebooks files with a similar extension to Jupyter Notebooks into the portal and share it with your organization. For those who do not have ArcGIS Pro, you can use ArcPy without ArcGIS Pro. It still leverages on the same power of ArcPy. For those of you who have ArcGIS Pro, you can continue using notebooks as it is. Lastly, all of the libraries and packages are managed centrally. We all know it can be a nightmare when the resources are not shared and have experienced missing libraries. Instead of doing a pip install and figuring out all the dependencies and spending countless hours, all this takes away time where you could be actually working on something and you could jump into your colleagues' wonderful work and where they just left off. Notebooks makes it easy to share documents within communities. And there are sample notebooks. I just mentioned this briefly earlier, but here's what they are. They are integrated workflows for WebGIS administration, content management, data science, and analysis. Those kinds of stuff, the three pillars of notebooks. Samples can be used to learn something new or to jumpstart your own analysis. You can go and use them as tutorials, or you can go right ahead and steal some of the codes. You can take a notebook and swap out all the data that's being used. Basically, recycling the environment is really up to you. And some of these samples are ready to run, meaning you can just open them up in theory and just run through all the cells from top to bottom. But if you do that and do not read up on them, it's not going to do you much good. But other notebooks do require you to configure some parameters for them to be able to run. This is especially true for the ones where you're managing contents or administrative work where the contents are unique. There are multiple ways to run ArcGIS Notebooks. The first option is to run ArcGIS Notebooks similarly to Jupyter Notebooks on the web. For that, we will need ArcGIS Notebook Server, which is integrated with ArcGIS Enterprise Portal. For those who are new to ArcGIS Enterprise Portal, it is a component that allows you to share maps, scenes, apps, and other geographical information with other people in your organization. The second option is to use notebooks with ArcGIS Pro. This option is available for those who have ArcGIS Pro 2.5 onwards. Similar to Notebook Server, you can easily share, manage your resources within ArcGIS Pro. Alright, let's jump straight into the demo. So here I am in ArcGIS Pro, and the first thing you notice is the menu page. Well, you may be wondering, where is the notebooks in ArcGIS Pro? Notebooks is embedded within the project itself. So let's create a project with a map. Well, you don't necessarily have to choose a map. In fact, if you want to, you can start without a template. But in this case, we're going to choose a map. Let's create a project called UC 2020 and hit OK. We'll give it a while to load up. Once it's done, we can jump straight into creating a new notebook. It will take a second or two depending on your machine. Right, now that we're in, under the Insert tab, we can select a new notebook. Now, there's ArcGIS Notebooks within ArcGIS Pro. So, now that we are in, let's create a premise or a story. If we all remember, during the lockdown, patrons were not allowed to dine in any eatery, and that included hawker centers. During the same period, we have high number of dengue cases in Singapore. We want to send some staff down to the hawker centers to inspect for potential mosquito breeding ground. Let's do some basic analysis to suggest a rough cluster. In notebooks, we can use markdown cells to paste in any text or images. In this case, the image is taken from NEA. It kind of depicts a good picture about dengue cases in Singapore. With the premise done, we can get into coding. So, in this line, we are logging into our ArcGIS Online account. That way, you can have access to all of your online files. You can log into the Enterprise account, or if you want to, you can log into your local resource, or you can log in anonymously as well. As you can see, ArcGIS Notebooks prompts you for your password. Well, it's possible to store your password in a cell, but I highly recommend you not to. Do take note that the asterisk means that the notebook is still processing. Now that we are logged in, we have access to all of our data. Let's create a variable content and so that we can store a layer file in it. I pre-typed the statement, but I'll walk you through on it. We're logging into our ArcGIS Online account and querying all the feature layers with the keyword cluster and setting the max results to 10. Let's see what happens. We've got two layer files. One of it is from my colleague and the other one is mine. It's pretty hard to see the data though. That's where the use of third-party libraries come in. Let's use IPython since it's a good tool to display items. We'll iterate through the content and see the output. Wow, now it's much better, don't you think? We can see the author, the name, even when it was last modified. Since we have our first layer, let's create a map where we can place a layer. We are creating a map of Singapore and displaying it. Do know that any changes made to the map will automatically be reflected here. You'll also realize that the map is interactive. So do feel free to mess around, to zoom in, zoom out, position your map to the ideal setting that you want to. I'm adding in the second item on the list, which is the layer that I want. As usual, the count will start from 0. You'll be able to see the layer added onto the map automatically when it's added. And there we have it. The layer has successfully been added to the map. We can also enhance the query to be more precise. Let's set the owner to be me and the title to include the keyword hawker in the query. Alright, now that we have the data that we need, let's use some analysis tools in our case. So, we want to find out the cluster of hawker centers that intersect with the dengue cluster. And for that, we need the summary tool from ArcGIS features. So let's import ArcGIS. I already know that the output of the summary tool is a feature class, but you can easily use the question mark to get more information about the function. Let's give it a try. Now you can see Notebooks provides you with all the documentation within itself. In this case, we will require a basic of just 2 parameters, that being the summary within layer and the summary layer. So we are adding in the parameters, and now we know that the output is a feature class. Let's create a new map and edit. It will take a while for the summary layer to process. In the meantime, I'll tell you more about the summary layer. You can think of the summary within as taking 2 layers, the input polygon and the input summary features, stacking them on top of each other. And after stacking these layers, we can peer through the stacks and count the number of input summary features that falls within the input polygons. Not only can you count the number of features, you can calculate a simple statistics about the attributes and the input summary features, such as the summary, the mean, the minimum, maximum, and so on. And there we have it, ArcGIS Notebooks within ArcGIS Pro. There are lots of stuff you can do, so do take a look at the documentation for more information. So that's Notebook in a nutshell. Let's do a recap of some of the points. You saw Jupyter interface, how it was integrated with ArcGIS environment, how it was able to add those automatic Python snippets for the data and the analysis. We're able to bring in data from our organization and from ArcGIS Online. We can create and run scripts with ArcPy. We also can load in a private workspace. Fifth, we have a Python library and package synchronized all across the organization. Notebooks are also saved as items. It's easy to move and to share it with others. Notebooks can also be in a read-only preview. This is what happens when you're trying to share your notebooks with your colleague, but they do not have access to create a new ArcGIS notebook. So the notebook will be set to read-only. And lastly, we include a set of notebook samples in which you can reuse and refer to it if you want a good code snippet. I've listed some of the resources that will help you greatly in your notebook journey. So do have a good look through and see the capabilities of ArcGIS Notebooks. Thank you.